Welcome back to DMV Sports Zone.
Chased down by Beal in the corner for three, gets fouled and hits.
Welcome to DC.
Walker tied him out.
You know where you're at, the USA cap. You're taking it slightly, I'm taking it slightly. Now how you gon' act on you gon' be right back. Well, we gon' be right here, we gon' be right here. We ain't going nowhere. Welcome to DC. DC, the home of Chuck Brown. Oh, you don't know the sound? Well, let me break it down.
What's good, everyone? It's your boy Nazi with another video for the channel. Welcome back to DMV Sports Zone. And today I have a very special guest, a guest that's been on the channel before. It's been some time since then, but Mr. Bram Weinstein, American sportscaster, radio personality that worked at ESPN and ESPN Radio from 2008 to 2015, including stints on SportsCenter, before serving since 2020 as the official radio play-by-play voice for the then Washington football team and now Washington Commanders. Bram, how are you doing?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm excited for this talk that we're gonna have. The first question I want to ask you are for your quick thoughts on the Commanders' new partnership with iHeartRadio and Big 100.1 FM in particular, and how excited are you for it, and what will this new collaboration bring to the Commanders fan base?
So I think it's really a good logical move for the new brand and the new identity. There are a couple things behind it. Like, number one, it was very important to the team, and I agree with this, to be on an FM exclusive signal. And that was being offered, and one of the best frequencies in the area happens to be with iHeart. So that checked off a big box. And then secondarily, the team is, if you listen to Jason Wright pretty closely, the team is looking to build out its brand and not just be in football circles. They want to have an entertainment brand. When they build a new stadium, they're hoping it's going to be part of an entertainment district, that they can be intertwined in pop culture. And whether they're going to end up being successful doing this, I understand the trajectory and the reasons behind it. And so the partnership from that perspective makes a tremendous amount of sense. Like, iHeart has so many connections in the entertainment industry. This isn't going to be just about football. You'll get the football, but it's not going to be just about football. And I think it's a smart move by the team to try to branch out, find new fans, find new ways to connect with people, and find ways to intertwine with entertainment.
I, for one, am super excited about it because I live out in Chicago, so I'm excited to listen in on the games. But the next question I want to ask you is, with constant talk right now about the whole Terry McLaurin situation and will he potentially re-sign with this team, what do you make of him reportedly holding out of on-field activities until he gets his deserved contract extension? And do you believe that Terry will eventually put ink to paper on a new deal with the team?
I do. I am not worried about that at this point. That said, I don't know what he's asking for. And so that part is the one part that I think is kind of hanging out there. But, they just put out new jerseys, new helmets, new name, new everything. And he and Chase Young are literally in every picture. So he's one of the faces of the team. I think he knows that. I think if the team had anticipated that the receiver market was going to explode like it did, they may have, signed him earlier, maybe even last year, and gotten ahead of it. But I don't think anyone anticipated what happened. Obviously, he's not the only receiver in the same boat, and the market changed, and these players want to be paid, and I don't blame them. Washington created a lot of cap space. They lost a lot of it with Carson Wentz, but they created other spots. You'll have noticed they haven't done much in free agency. I think they're bracing for a couple of extensions they want to get done, namely McLaurin and probably Deron Payne. So at this juncture, I'm not worried at all about McLaurin. I really believe that, not knowing from him directly, but I believe he wants to be here. I know the team wants him here. I know they value him in so many ways. So I expect it to get done. And, this is all this stuff that's being talked about now. This was never going to happen right now. This is not the timing of it. Like, they're going to get through the draft and a second wave of free agency post-draft. Then they'll get around to it. And I anticipate something will be done before training camp.
Okay. Moving off the Terry McLaurin situation, what do you think the Commanders will do at pick 11 in the 2022 NFL draft, which is now about 9 days away?
I don't know. Like, your guess is as good as mine. They're in a really interesting situation. Like, there's a lot of needs that they have, and they're going to have a lot of really great options to fill those needs. In my opinion, if somehow Kyle Hamilton, the safety out of Notre Dame, is there at 11, I think he is a obvious pick for them. If he's not, and many people don't expect him to be, I think they could go receiver. I think they could go corner. I think they could trade down. In fact, if Hamilton isn't there, I think they'd probably like to trade down and get some of the picks back and still get probably a very good receiver in the first round. It's very deep. There's going to be 6 to 8 receivers taken in the first round. The other guy I like a lot, but I don't know that they value getting a corner right now, is Derek Stingley. I think he's going to be available. I think he's a premier talent. And I'm all about getting really, really, really good football players. And in Hamilton or Stingley, I don't think they can go wrong. So I think either one of them are going to be really hard to pass up. If neither one of them are there and they can't trade out, I expect either Garrett Wilson, Drake London, or Chris Olave, those receivers, one of those three, and take your pick at which one you like, because they all look pretty good to me.
Do you think it might be feasible for the team to potentially draft Jameson Williams? Because I know he sustained that major knee injury in the national championship game, but reportedly his timetable for recovery is 5 to 7 months from that game, which should put him ready for about the preseason. Do you think the team might take their chances and draft Jameson Williams?
Yeah, I think that's a possibility too. I think receiver is a distinct likelihood. But if Hamilton is there, I have a hard time seeing them pass that up, mainly because they don't have someone on the roster that plays that specific safety Buffalo nickel position that they're looking for. I think it's possible they'll go back to Landon Collins if they don't draft him and try to get him to come back. I don't know if they'll be successful with that, but I think that's a possibility. But I agree. I think receiver is a very logical spot to land on. I think if Hamilton or the corners aren't there, it makes a lot of sense if someone is trying to jump up and get a quarterback at that point to trade down, because I think they're going to get a very good receiver later in the first round, and they don't have to spend the draft stock and get some assets back. But it takes two to do that. And without premier quarterbacks in this draft, a lot of people believe that there's not going to be a lot of movement to move up, and not significant movement like there was a year ago. And so, will Washington's phone ring at 11? I don't know.
Okay. Where do you think this team is positioned right now in the NFC East with the Carson Wentz trade going down earlier in the offseason, some other moves, J.D. McKissick returning back to the Washington Commanders? Where do you think this team is in the NFC East, and how far do you think they are from potentially contending for a Super Bowl?
So because of what looks to be the relative weakness of the NFC, not that I should put pressure on them, but I do expect them to make the playoffs one way or the other. I think they have the type of team to do that. I think if their defense plays better than it did in the first half of the season this year and Chase Young comes back and is healthy, I anticipate that they're going to have one of the better defenses in the league. And if you look around the NFC, with the exception of the NFC West, the divisions look like one-team races. And we'll see with ours. Right now I would put Washington chasing Dallas, but they've had a really curious offseason, the Cowboys. Like, I kind of don't know what they're doing. So they screamed, run it back and load up. I mean, they near missed going to the Super Bowl, and they just let Amari Cooper go for nothing. They've let others go. They lost Randy Gregory. They let Lyle Collins go. They don't seem to have any answers for any of these positions. So they look weaker to me. Weak enough that Washington Giants or Philly can catch them, I don't know. But they do look weaker to me. So I think the division's very much in play. And we'll have to see how Carson plays. If this is a major upgrade at quarterback, which his team hopes it is, then I don't see why they can't compete to win the division. If it doesn't work out that way, then, we'll be back where we started. And as far as going to the Super Bowl, I don't know that we're there yet. I don't feel that way. But again, the NFC feels by far the weaker conference. And so you end up winning your division. You have a home game. Who knows? You know, you get a hot defense. Who knows? If they're playing in the AFC East, or the AFC West, or the AFC North for that matter, I don't know that I like their chances, you know, roster, you know, up against those other rosters, but they're not. So the road for them is very different for sure.
Yeah, speaking of a hot defense, if Chase Young bounces back from that major injury, he's definitely the X factor for this team, correct?
No doubt. I mean, he needs to be their best player. I mean, like, he should be their best player. He needs to be their best player. You know, I haven't seen him. I know he's at the OTA stuff and the minicamp stuff right now, which is great. I'm glad he showed up to all of that. And I need to see what kind of healthy, you don't want to put too much pressure on him. I don't know what his recovery timetable is. So I'll know a lot more in July about how ready he's going to be for week 1 and look like Chase Young. And hopefully that's the case. And if it is, then I fully anticipate a huge bounce back year from him. Everything I've heard is last year was humbling for him. And, you know, outside of the injury, which obviously wasn't his fault, but everything before it. And I think he has a lot to prove. And I anticipate seeing it. He is, of the time that I've spent professionally around the team, he is one of the 3 most unique athletes and game-changing type players that I've seen come through here. Him, LeVar Arrington, and Sean Taylor. And I believe that he gets to the place where he kind of gets in line with what the team is asking him to do. I think we'll start to see what hopefully will be a dominant, potentially Hall of Fame trajectory type career. And that's what I'm hoping to see from him. And same goes for Montez Sweat. I mean, I think he had a down year. And I hope that the 2 of them collectively look like the players they did 2 years ago. Because if they did, I think we can all agree this team goes as far as that defensive line takes them. That's where all their money is. That's where their best players are. That's where most of their first round picks were selected. They need to be great. And if they're great, then we've got a shot to go a long way. And if they're not, you saw what happened last year.
And you said the top 3 guys, top 3 athletes that you've seen come through Ashburn were LeVar Arrington, Sean Taylor, Chase Young. Kyle Hamilton might be that 4th guy, right?
He really is unique. And that's why I'm kind of so hoping he falls into their lap.
Yeah.
1, he fits exactly what they're looking for. 2, you don't see many safeties that are 6'4". He doesn't have the reason why he might fall to 11 is he does not have the huge NFL speed. He is not Derwin James coming out of college. So that part I want to talk to the coaches about, because that's the one and only reason that he would potentially be at 11 is he ran slow 40 times at the combine and his pro day. But if you watch him play, they used him everywhere. He was in the slot. He's in this Buffalo nickel. He plays a traditional safety. They put him on the outside on receivers, which I doubt with his speed times would happen in the NFL. Still, he was capable of it in college to do that. He is maybe the most versatile player I scouted and looked at, and he's exactly what they need. And as long as they believe that his speed is not a hindrance to him, then I think he's a perfect fit for them. So I'm hoping that he falls to 11.
Okay, I am too. And I think the entire fan base is. But Bram, thank you so much for taking the time out of your morning to join me on this. And is there anything you want to plug before we wrap this up?
Oh God, I could do that for an hour and a half.
Maybe
check
Empire.
Check out my podcast network, Empire Media, AMPIRE. John Keim, who covers team for ESPN, does a great podcast on our network called the John Keim Report. Joel Corey covers all of the cap issues called Inside the Cap. For those of you who are Caps fans out there, Carl Alsner and Stephen Wino do a show called All's Caps. Awesome, as we get ramped up for the playoffs there. But we got a bunch of other shows you can check out. I can be heard in DC on ESPN 630 from 3 to 6. And at this time of year, I start getting bored and I start really missing calling the game. So it still feels far away, but I can't wait till August and September roll around.
For sure. We appreciate that. And yeah, guys, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the DMV Sports Zone channel, where we like to post fire content like this as much as possible. Also, go follow our Twitter page at DMVSportsZone, Instagram page, all lowercase DMVSportsZone, and our TikTok page at DMVSportsZone as well. And Bram, thank you once again for joining me on this. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. Hope everybody who's watching has a great rest of your day, and see you on the next one.